Alright. Let me see this shit.
Tonight, we head to Kentucky, the home track for many drivers when it comes to the RGR and its chase for the Kyle Glass Cup. Tonight, Grid Vision is glad to be at Kentucky Speedway here on iRacing. Good evening, I'm Justin Prince. Alongside me is Brian Britt with Austin John Richard producing as we get ready for today's action in the daytime here from Kentucky Speedway. One of the more unique racetracks on the circuit for this season with two different types of banking to battle with tonight, Brian. Drivers expect what's going to be an interesting night here from Kentucky.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the most unique mile-and-a-half tracks. Somewhat difficult. 1 and 2 is vastly different than 3 and 4. So I think these guys are definitely going to be challenged quite substantial here. And it's a long race as well, 167 laps. Of course, the track temp right now around 95 degrees. So pretty warm, but still should be fairly grippy out there for these drivers as they're in the middle of warm-up at the moment. So definitely curious to see how they tackle this place. I know it's also very much known for kind of a lot of tire wear, but this also track is somewhat of a driver's track, I'd say, in the mile and a half. As I regard a mile and a half, I mean, I know 3 and 4, if I'm not mistaken, Justin, I think it's a little bit slower than 1 and 2. Is that correct?
Yes, indeed, especially since many people, and depending on the type of car and usually or the type of vehicle, describe Kentucky, you'd have to think as full throttle in 1 and 2 with the current configuration. But it's that difficulty in turn 3 where it was nicknamed for several seasons when on the NASCAR schedule the most difficult turn 3 in all of stock car racing.
Yeah, so that's what I figured. I thought it was 3 and 4. I haven't raced here in quite a bit, but it looks like we do have the points on our screen here. I'll go ahead and go through them if you like. Lance Ripka, of course, at the top of the points pylon, 295 points. Travis Rogers, he's been really the man on a mission here as of late with some odd strategies that have really been working out for him. He's in second. Eric Beller, of course, not going to be in competition here tonight. Hopefully he enjoys his Metallica concert. He's in third. Of course, Thomas Wolfe, he has been on fire here as of late. Has won a couple races. He's in fourth. Greg Ratliff, I don't think is in competition here tonight. He's fifth. Jason Spear, sixth. Tony Ratliff, seventh. Todd Gilly, eighth. Michael Everhart, ninth. And Adam Recker rounds out the top 10 in points.
Consistency has been critical when it comes to battling for the championship in this season. Ripka amongst the most consistent when it comes to being in the top 10, the only driver to do so every time. Now, as we get set for tonight's action here from Kentucky, let's talk about what's coming up here on Grid Vision, should say. When it comes to this week, Grid Vision Super Speedway is at Talladega. That's at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Be sure to tune in to see what's expected to be an interesting one. They were back at Kentucky on Tuesday for the Champion iRacing Truck Series. That 9 p.m. Eastern. SSRL Truck Series competitions from Atlanta. To be able to tune in, talks already about the shift potentially to the old Atlanta instead. And several saying thank you in that Discord. The Major Series battles at Silverstone for its final race of the season, 9 p.m. this Saturday. And then ends on Sunday. It's action from Iowa here on Grid Vision. Expecting a busy week to say the very least, but keep in mind when it comes to tonight's festivities, expecting what could be a track where lots of track position critical once again. As we get set for tonight's action once again here, what are some of the main things you're watching out for when it comes to a track like Kentucky, but also with how the field's been playing out, especially since, mind you, Travis Rogers is second in points entering this qualifying session, and basically this run tonight just one race shy in the top of those in the 6-point mark. We'll see how tonight plays out in turn. Your quick thoughts as we get ready for the grid.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be a lot about pit road decisions and things like that. Of course, the fuel is very, very tight if you're going to try to make a four-stopper. So I think it's going to be really all about that and also saving your resources.
Let's take a look at that starting grid, why don't we, as Lance Ripka starts alongside Thomas Wolfe. Then it's TJ Rogers in a brand new racing seat for tonight. He's in one of the seats that you can get with seatbelts on them, with Bernard Person alongside. Jason Spear starts fifth, Adam Recker in sixth, with Todd Gilly looking to go Gilly from the 7th spot. Daniel Blow starts eighth, George Dibble in ninth. And Zeno Collins, after losing his front nose within the opening laps at Martinsville, he's back for some more from the 10th spot, Brian.
Yeah, of course, 11th place, Danny Passmore. I do believe that's a new driver in this series. 12th place, Mark Schrader. And rounds out our 12-car field here this evening. Definitely an interesting one, though. As I was mentioning, a little bit of facts about the race. 167 laps is, of course, the distance here. 38 to 42 is what they were telling me the fuel window is. The laps on that you can make on one tank of gas. Of course, 5 sets of tires down in the pits. From what I did a little bit of calculations. I know me being from South Carolina, probably not very accurate, but 4 stops could be possible. It is very, 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 very tight. So I'm thinking it's likely going to be 5 stops here tonight.
So the drivers now making their way behind the Guy Racing pace car. And keep in mind, drivers such as Rogers have been very strong here in RGR competition and other car types entering tonight. That's kind of leaning towards where I'm thinking it's going. Where do you think it's going to be in terms of who wins tonight?
I don't know. I mean, I gotta feel like I don't know. I'm going with 91. I think Thomas Wolfe, ever since he started qualifying, he has been just almost unbeatable. I mean, he's now qualified the highest in the running order that he's been all season long. He qualified on the outside pole. It's going to be tough to beat that 91 up there.
Glad to have you with us for tonight's action. It's the chase for the Kiowa Class Cup. It's RGR, and it's from Kentucky, a staple for many drivers in this series. Funnily enough, most of those drivers not able to make it for tonight for one reason or another. We'll talk about that more in depth throughout the evening. It's Lance Ripka taking the green. We're underway from Kentucky.
Yeah, pretty calm start there from Ripka. He's able to get up through the gears. Still side by side, though, for second place is TJ Rogers. Been one of the best drivers all season long. Of course, he's second in the points for a reason as he goes to duel with Thomas Wolfe. But Wolfe gets a huge run on the exit, too, and I think he's going to take the lead. Look at this move from the 91.
Able to make the outside work and make it stick. And then some as Rogers gets loose. TJ Rogers slides out the racetrack, able to keep it at the edge of the apron. Thomas Wolfe leads the opening lap of the day. And keep in mind, Thomas Wolfe, this is not his first race at the circuit this week already, because he also made his second ever start in SSRL Truck Series campaign action, and he was amongst those who moved to the field until late.
Is that right? Well, how about that? That's definitely interesting to see as we see George Dibble. He's having some major issues, hitting the outside wall in, of course, 3 and 4.
Already significant damage to the 94 machine. Keep in mind in this series, no fast repairs. And that front nose, a bit crumpled in to say the very least, as a result of sliding up the racetrack. Also of note, Sendell Collins missed the opening laps. He's 2 laps down already. Well, it's adjusted to 12 seconds back, but it may as well be at least a lap in the midst of the distance back.
Yeah, he's going to probably end up finding himself a lap down as we see a huge battle going on for this lead. Buckshot, Ripka all over the back end of the 91. You see Bernard Person as well. You know, Bernard's always fast on the short runs. Glad to have him back. I know he wasn't in competition last week, but I think he's going to put a lot of pressure on this 52 to go and try to pass that 91 as the battle is on here. I mean, I was watching these guys a little bit of practice earlier, and they were doing a little bit of some faux restarting and things like that. And I'll tell you, the racing was very intense. As you can see that Ripka, I think, has the mind to try to push Thomas into the corner a little bit faster than I think he wants to go. As here comes Ripka. He's going to try to possibly make the top line work and is now being challenged by Person.
Remember, Person's been one of the better drivers short run-wise. It's been a struggle long run. But when it comes to a track like this, that's the difficult part is you kind of need the long run because the tires just fall off a cliff here because that speed difference.
No, they definitely do. I was even looking at somebody that did a 15-lap run in practice and was just looking at they started out at a 31, around a 31 some odd second lap, and they fell off to about a 33. So it's quite a drastic bit of fall off as we see Person all over Wolfe right now. Another driver that has recovered and is hitting the fastest laps on the racetrack is TJ Rogers. This guy is driving his way back through the field, and I think he's a man on a mission. I mean, we saw that sideways action of him on cold tires, I should say, and I think he's trying to recoup all those positions, but I think that's going to also scorch the tires he's already got on that race car.
It's been a solid recovery, at least for the 72 machine. It's talked about new sim racing gear as part of its direct drive setup this evening. And he's been running very well when it comes to the mile and a halves. This one not so easy when it comes to the positioning. Person nearly up to the race lead, by the way. Is in the 8, trying to bobble to the inside. Nearly getting to the fender as Thomas Wolf plays defense against the yellow line. Here comes the move.
Person keeps almost getting into the rear end of the 91. I think that he is very much aggressive. Wants this lead. Maybe clean air. Maybe that's where the value is in that clean air, and I think Person wants to get it.
Side by side for the race lead. Wolf able to pinch down last time by. Both drivers in the 32-1s. TJ Rogers, the fastest car on the racetrack. 0.3 quicker than the top 3. No move complete yet from Person, but Thomas Wolf able to hold on to the point. Here comes Ripka for second again.
Yeah, I think Ripka was just kind of biding his time. He was letting Person go up there and kind of challenge and push Wolf, which is smart. You know, you kind of want to be really wise in this situation, especially Person's being incredibly aggressive right now. I'd be scared if I was in Wolf's shoes. I don't know if I would really battle the 8 too much. I would think about letting him go. I mean, history serves. The 8's going to go back later in this race because of long run, issues.
Now it's the matter, though, of can he maintain that speed and overcome the set issues that he's made the trend forward of all season. Ripka checks up a little bit on the bottom. And keep in mind, there's a small difference in lines we're seeing are running. Thomas Wood trying to arc it more so in 1 and 2 on a very bottom-heavy 1 and 2. It seems like 3 and 4, though, Person's not afraid to just rip it into the apex.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really liking what I'm seeing from Person. He looks like he is incredibly fast on the exit and in the center of the corner. And he gets all the way to the bottom, essentially in 3 and 4. Let's see what he does in 1 and 2 here. He's definitely running a little bit lower. I love that these guys are using that black line that's kind of on the bottom of this racetrack as somewhat of a guide. As we see TJ Rogers, of course, making a pass on Buckshot Ripka. I think Ripka, I don't think he's showing his full hand. I think he's being reserved in a lot of ways. And I think that's showing a lot of wisdom. He lets these guys say, hey, you think you're faster, go ahead, but I'll be there later. And I think that's what Ripka's MO here is side by side for the lead. Person's now once again trying to take it, and now Person has the aid of TJ Rogers.
Spear Machine able to make the move. Does Wolf keep it side by side? Yes, he does. Bernard Person forced to back out a bit on the gas. Wolf able to keep alongside. That seems to be the most frustrating thing. Clearing fully because of that ability to pitch down from the top.
Yeah, no, I this is definitely interesting to say the least. I mean, I think Wolf is doing a great job defending this position. And I think Person just really wants to get up there and challenge it and try to take this lead to get that clean air. It's got to be really, really frustrating for him as we see TJ Rogers, of course, going to the inside to possibly try to challenge for second, but Person's not allowing him to take that line away. So I think TJ Rogers decides to go high and seeing if he can maybe take the second place position that way.
Thinking about the peak, can't get the peak, but goes for the cross. Ripken forced to back out a bit. Now keep in mind also, this is technically a 5-car battle up at the front because Adam Recker, he was about half a second back initially in the past couple laps. With all that squabbling for second on back, he's been able to close up the gap to Ripka, and he's amongst those charging the hardest up on the top side, heading towards the fall-off point.
And he's hitting some good laps. I mean, faster laps than the guys that are ahead of him. I mean, 32.396 last time by. Well, it changed that last time by. He's not being as consistent, but he's definitely seems like he's got more resources, I'd say, when it comes to the tires right now. And I feel like what's kind of interesting here, more than any other week, we're seeing the field kind of stay together a lot more than we have in prior weeks. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, usually you'd expect a little bit more break apart, or the field to break apart, should say, because of the dirty air effect or as the run continues, but it stayed pretty much almost pack style you still have the pack essentially all within the space of just 3 seconds. Usually it's been upwards of 10 seconds, a majority of the time at halves.
I mean, that could be a problem as well. We see somebody hitting the wall, I do believe, a little bit. I'm not sure exactly who that was. It might have been Todd Gilly. Could have been. I think it actually was Daniel Blow in the 17.
It was several. It was more so Mark Schrader. You also had Gilly scraping the wall, but all of them stayed within distance for the time being. Speaking of Gilly, well, it appears he's decided to call himself the Toad Man now. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, I don't know either. I have no clue. I noticed that when I first joined in the session. I was like, who is that? And I looked at the car. I was like, oh, that's Todd Gilly. But, you know, hey, to each his own, I guess. But I'll tell you what, Wolf is starting to pull away. Look at the lap times Wolf's hitting right now. That clean air, I wonder if this is clean air or if it's just straight up long run pace.
I almost have to wonder if it's a bit of both. Because remember, Wolf was the same way where he was actually, like we've seen in RGR, struggled in the truck race this past Thursday on the short and mid run, but once that long run kicked in, that's where it seemed he got back into a rhythm, the exact same way we've seen it in RGR. The difference being, instead of being up towards the lead, it was the difficulty of having to come from the back to the front again, like we've seen in qualifying, or when he hasn't had time to qualify for races such as this one. Although, keep in mind, he did qualify for the SSRL. It's just, that's how tight the qualifying margin was Thursday.
It's definitely interesting. Thomas Wolf, definitely a very talented driver. I think his I rating doesn't really indicate how good he is. As you see a little bit of some wiggles back there. Danny Passmore getting really wiggly off of turn 2. Almost got into the wall. As he, I think, is going to get passed possibly by Daniel Blow as the 101 is going to go really high. A little bit of some wiggles there, I do believe, from Mark Schrader as well. So a lot of guys, I think, are starting to lose the handling as we have gotten about halfway through this stint. Remember, the fuel window is about 38 to 42 laps.
And now he's starting to check out, as Rosana said, clean air. Person not falling off too badly, though, in the midst of all this. So they all stay lined up together. Jason Spear still holding on to 6th. This is a decent time to talk about one driver who, by the way, has now clattered their entire right front end. How about the 101? A couple different new members entering the week. Amongst those joining the series, how about the Corn Hub car? It's Danny Passmore and his season debut today.
He has roughed that race car all up, boy. Look at the front end of that race car. He definitely, that paint scheme looked a lot better whenever he first entered this session. It looks like he has definitely roughed it up quite a bit, as you see Dibble right there behind him as well. But very interesting paint scheme. Corn Hub, apparently that's the place where you go to get corn.
Yeah, let's just say that. But so far, just trying to keep it together. Others like Ricky Williams showing interest throughout the week. We'll see when they get the chance to make their starts here on the chase for the Kiowa Glass Cup. Sunshine really starting to peak around here. It is mostly cloudy skies still in the midst of all this. Expecting that track temperature to fluctuate a bit as a result. By the time we get to the late stages, we're actually looking potentially towards near start of sunset procedure with that start time. Keep in mind, we're starting to already see some of the factor with the shade since we're already near 6 p.m. in sim.
Yeah, my question is, do we have lights at this facility? Because I know this is
Yes.
Okay, well, good. Because I know sometimes you go to a track and it goes to dark and there have not been lights. So good thing we got lights here.
This is actually an interesting one because the pit lane itself is actually one of the darker ones in all of iRacing. And what I mean by that is there isn't too much light on the pit lane itself because this is usually a circuit where the infield is pretty dark in the first place in real life, because people did compare that picture to in sim to try and confirm this. This is usually a circuit where you bring the neon lights and that's your main light source for the pit lane and the pit signs. Obviously, you can't add the neon to the pit sign.
Yeah, that's interesting. I did not know that. That's an interesting fact for sure. It's Adam Recker all over TJ Rogers right now. I think Recker has done a really good job at saving his equipment on this longer run. as he goes to the inside of Rogers. And I think Rogers also burned up his resources. I mean, keep in mind the guy almost spun out, probably burned his tires up a little bit more, and then tried to recover by driving through the field again. I think that TJ Rogers is probably he doesn't have a full deck right now. He's gonna be looking for that pit stop.
I think a lot of people are at the rate things are going here already on lap 25 of this 167 lapper today. Record amongst those now up to 4th. Also of note, Ripka has passed by Bernard Person. Person had held on to 2nd much of this run. It's his best long run race of the day. Let's take a look at a replay real quick. You see how Ripka built up the run. That was after Person started dropping a little bit on the pace, opened the door for the bottom. That's all it takes in the bottom and 3.
Classic pass. I mean, he just he made it look easy. Of course, Person almost was about to cross him back over, but he wasn't able to get there. But yeah, great job. I mean, you can see Buckshot. He waited until the absolute perfect moment to kind of just show the nose, and he made the pass. And of course, he's up to 2nd. But I don't know. I mean, looking at his lap times, he's the 2nd fastest car. Well, actually, he's 3rd fastest on the racetrack right now. But Thomas Wolfe is the fastest. So this is going to be tough to beat Wolfe. I mean, I don't know. I mean, but we've seen Wolfe make mistakes before. This is a long race. We're going to have several green flag pit stops if I'm a betting man. So I think it could come down to that.
Approaching that first window of this race, keep in mind Thomas Wolfe already a 2.5 up. Now things have fared down to the early going. Of note, Sendell Collins, who started off this race 12 seconds back compared to most of the field, is now in range to be lapped. By the end of the first pit cycle, likely will lose lap because he's already 22 seconds back, 10 seconds slower. That's a lot more than everybody else. Keep in mind, Denny Passmore with the huge dent in the right fender has only lost 9 seconds in the same time.
Yeah, I think Zinla just wasn't really prepared for this race, I don't believe, and wanted to probably start from the pits just to kind of stay out of everybody's way. And unfortunately, eventually you do get in everybody's way either way. So, I mean, hopefully he figures it out. Hopefully he might get some sort of caution to kind of get him back in this race. He's not a lap down yet, and if he does go a lap down, he'll at least be the lucky dog. So see 3 wide almost there for just a moment as you see TJ Rogers trying to hold off a charge from, I do believe, Jason Spear and Wrecker, as well as Todd Gilly. This is some fantastic racing back here for 4th.
Wrecker losing ground. A little bit of a tight call for Gilly. Wrecker takes the high groove as Jason Spear stays on the bottom. Keep in mind, Jason Spear last time by 33 flat. That was the same pace as his teammate Bernard Person. Now they look to try and square it back up against Rogers. He continues to play the defense. He's amongst those staying the full bottom route. Everyone else trying to arc it.
I feel like Rogers is holding these guys up. I feel like you were talking about him being defensive. I think that's a very true statement. I think he's being so defensive that these guys can't pass him, and they're having to slow down. So I'm sure they're probably getting very, very frustrated with that because, I mean, problems with Todd Gilly. He hits the wall. Daniel Blow has to take evasive maneuvers.
They don't make contact, though. We stay green, if anything. Despite that scrub to the wall, Gilly got very lucky. Just a small paint scraper.
Yeah, that wasn't too bad. Take a look back at this replay, and we'll see what happened here with Gilly. I think Gilly was trying to avoid Wrecker. Or I think he saw green. I think in a lot of ways he's like, I'm going to get past Wrecker here and try to go to his outside, but I think he just was driving it too hard. Here comes Rogers to pit road.
This is a bold call. At lap 32, coming to 33, he becomes the first to come into the pit lane at his home race.
This is really early. I mean, he's got to be. He's going for a 5 stop. He can't be doing 4 because there's no way.
And that might be an interesting one because keep in mind, even when NIS competition came here, back when this was still on the NASCAR Cup Series schedule in real life, and of course, NIS follows the Cup Series schedule in turn. Most drivers did the simple thing. Just get to halfway, even if it meant losing pace. It looks like drivers like Rogers and like Todd Gilly electing to come in earlier than most of the others here, though, today.
Well, I mean, the fall off is pretty great. I mean, we're seeing about a second and a half, somewhere, something like that. I just still don't feel like you're not gonna recoup that with an extra stop. So I think the game plan, if you can make it, that's if you can make it. I mean, it's really, really close. I mean, I did the math and it was razor thin to be able to make a 4-stop. So if you can make it, I would definitely go for that. But so I don't know. They're also not drafting. That is true.
Yeah, exactly. But keep in mind, these aren't necessarily draft-heavy cars in mile and a half. It's more so a lot of driver focus. Adam Recker, he's fallen off a cliff. He might have reached the cliffing point on the tires because he's now under attack by Daniel Blow.
Yeah, that's definitely one thing that this series, I think, features quite a bit is these fixed setups. They just burn the tires, slap up off of them, especially if you abuse them. And that's the thing about a fixed setup is iRace is trying to teach you how to save tire. And if you don't do it correctly, you're going to hit that brick wall of those tires just failing on you. And so I think we'll probably see, here comes Recker. Recker's to pit road.
Adam Recker slips it on in. No issues to the pit lane this time. It can be a tricky one, keep in mind. A lot of times we've seen drivers pick up speeding penalties off that banking today. Most drivers keeping it conservative. Recker, Mark Schrader electing to come down again. Mark Schrader, that is not scheduled because what he just did was spin on cold tires back to the pit lane.
No. Well, that's not good.
He just pit last time by, and on his outlap, take a look at what he did.
Yeah, I think his car just said, "Hey, we're pitting now."
Yeah, let's go back to the pit lane.
I think that had a mind of his own, but that's the thing about cold tires. I mean, we saw it even with TJ Rogers earlier in the race. I mean, when you get on the first lap of those new tires, it's not going to act right. You have to allow it to warm. You have to allow them to get up and build temperature. As Thomas Wolfe is continuing, he has been just very quick on this long run. I mean, 32.9, 33 flat, time and time again. He is so consistent.
I think he's making it clear that he knows part of the strategy when it comes to this track. Extend the run. Zeno Collins, he comes in. What's coming up to his lap 39 already. Round for lap 40 this time for the leaders. So that leaves Wolf, Ripka, Person, Spear, Blow, Dibble yet to take service in this one. Keep in mind, Rogers about 41 seconds behind the leader is the first of those who have pit so far. Spears already passed by his driver because Person has fallen off 5 seconds. After keeping up in the first 25 laps, he's fallen off like a cliff like we've seen the other mile and a halves.
Yeah, I just think Person just burned it up too much. He's just too aggressive on the short run. I just wish he would, if he could just calm it down a little bit, I think he'd be really, really good. As we see George Dibble coming to pit road here. So that's over half the field that have pitted here, as well as Person's coming to pit road. I think he's had enough. But yeah, Spear's been looking really good here tonight. He's been looking good the last few races. If I'm not mistaken, I think Spear got a podium last week.
Yeah, Spear's done really well when it comes to the season. He's got 2 top 5s, including a second at the paperclip. And I remember that finished with a bit of a rough and tumble one per Martinsville standard. But here come the leaders. This is the rest of the field here. 41 laps seems to be the limit. And everyone trying to minimize the time in the next window for these drivers if they can extend it again about lap 80. Keep in mind, here a lot of time was made up as a result of the undercut calls. Keep in mind, Rogers has a 4-second advantage over Gilly on that undercut call and gaining. He's already got himself the chance for the race lead and will take the lead this cycle.
Yeah, and if 41 is the limit, It is going to be, like I mentioned, razor thin when it comes to making it on a 4-stop. These guys are going to have to try to save at least one lap. I do believe one lap or so in order to make it to the end. So this is going to be really, really thin. I mean, I would not be surprised to see some guys running out of gas on this last lap. And knowing the RGR series like I do, these guys usually go green at tracks like this. They go green the whole entire time.
Yeah, the most cautions came last time out, actually. When it came to Martinsville, mile and a half, the most they've had is about one caution at best. But keep in mind, Rogers right now has the race lead. That on an undercut call of 9 laps compared to the leaders. Gilly, 3 seconds back. Thomas Wolf, 5 seconds behind. Expect that gap to reduce quickly. Adam Recker, he's also on the middle bridge of that undercut call in 4th. Lance Ripka, 7 seconds back in 5th. Spear in person, already about a third of the racetrack behind. Now things have broken down. Of note, Collins and Schrader losing laps, and Dibble continuing some struggles, as well as Passmore, as they deal with damage from earlier on in this race. Still plenty of time to go. But right now, it's looking like the battle of the strategies that you talked about. Wolf trying to cut the stops. Rogers trying to make it comfortable on the gas and take the risk of the extra stop and try and utilize more speed with only a 1.2 second fall off today on average.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been I'll tell you, Rogers has been one of the drivers that has been really bold, I'd say, with his strategies, and I really respect it. I mean, and most of the time, it doesn't work out necessarily terribly for him. I mean, even though he might not win the race on a strategy, he still usually finishes up in the top 5. I mean, he's second in the points right now for a reason. I mean, you got to admire the boldness. I mean, like we've talked about it before, he's got a long and storied history on simulator racing as well. So, definitely admire the guy. I think he's got a chance at the championship this season. As we see, of course, Thomas Wolf trying to get by Todd Gilly. That's for the second position there. It looks like he's going to get by without too much issue. Wolf is much faster than Gilly.
It's not even close right now with the pace. Gilly running 32.3s. Wolf, his fastest lap of the race last time by in the 31.4s.
Yeah, really quick lap there for Thomas Wolf, and definitely fantastic job. He's about 2 seconds back from Rogers, so even with Rogers with that shortcut call, really did not gain a whole lot of time. He gained about 5 seconds, but it ain't taking long for Wolf to get to knock that down. Well, I'm wondering is Buckshot Ripka. He seems like he is a little bit further back than I suspected he would be. I mean, he is about 4 seconds, or about 2.5 seconds off of Wolf right now. Looks like Ripka's maybe not in a comfort zone here at Kentucky.
Yeah, he's got solid long run pace more so, I think. It's just the matter, though, of, well, Wolf has just been able to have that long run pace more consistently, if that makes sense. He's had a lot of pace when it comes to the 91.
Yeah, I mean, the Wolf took the lead on the first lap and didn't look back. I mean, he's got it all. I mean, when this guy starts qualifying, you better watch out. And I think a lot of these drivers are going to be looking back and looking at what he's doing and possibly trying to learn from him. As here comes Wolf, 7/10 back from Rogers. He is just running him down 6/10, 7/10 faster than Rogers.
Already coming up to lap 50 in this one, too. Not even close to be able to stop him is Rogers. Big speed difference, 5 miles an hour quicker with the fresher tires. Oh, and he turns across Wolf. Rogers sends himself up the racetrack. Thomas Wolf keeps it straight, avoids damage, and takes the race lead. Wow.
I wonder if Rogers just didn't see him coming.
That's the only thing I could think of. Like, it was pretty stark, the difference.
Well, I mean, I think that maybe I think that maybe Wolf was being a little aggressive as well, because I mean, I feel like Rogers was just trying to turn down for the corner. I don't know. I think that was just. Go ahead.
I was about to say, remember, Thomas Wolf prefers the arc it from that middle line. So I'm almost wondering if he was thinking back to the normal single file line and then trying to pinch up by almost like instinctually to keep that outside groove for the arc.
Yeah, Rogers, I guess, just wasn't really trying to play to his strengths. I mean, I don't think Rogers was trying to do anything on purpose there. I think that he was just trying to make his normal corner, and he was being predictable, I'd say. Luckily, it didn't end up, it didn't end up terrible. It could have been way worse for sure. Rogers got out of it scot-free. I'd say Wolf did as well. But here comes Buckshot Ripka. He's catching up to Rogers as well. And we got a train of cars further back. Of course, that's Adam Recker, Todd Gilly, Jason Spear, Bernard Person, all right there in the line.
All sorts of strategies almost converging on one another here. Already coming up to about a third of the way through the action. Spear trying to pull it up on the outside. Oh, a little bit tight with Collins, and now Person nearly sends himself on the boss man. Person holds on. Now Collins, he's a lap down, mind you, in this, but does have fresher tires than many of the drivers he is racing around, hence why the peak. Now it's Spear underneath Recker. He's got fresher tires, and he zips on the bottom. Bernard Person looking to follow the boss man for his team, for Spear Motorsports as well.
Yeah, Spear has definitely been looking really, really good. I've just been loving his consistency, and it looks like he's going to get right on by, moves up to the fourth place position. Wouldn't be surprised if his strategy works out. He possibly could have a podium here tonight as well, and that would be just a more momentum built for that team, as well as Bernard Person. I think Person needs to talk to Spear and like, hey, man, how are you doing? How are you so good on the longer runs?
Simple. Well, I say that, but it's person to person, I think, is the better method. We're on board with Bernard Person. Perfect timing. This run, Person 32.5s behind his team owner.
He's looking really smooth right here. I'm liking what I'm seeing.
He uses a lot of wheel, though, for that apex off. Almost a bit too much. We'll have to see where he fares out on the long run this time around. With that being said, as we get past the third of the way mark, let's take a quick break. When we come back, more coverage of RGR, the Real Good Racing Series, and its Kiowa Class Cup action for the fall. You're watching Grid Vision from Kentucky.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Grid Vision for tonight's action. The RGR and the chase for the Kyle Glass Cup. Thomas Wolfe continues to lead here from Kentucky. Justin Prince alongside Brian Britt. Austin John Richard producing. 10 drivers on the lead lap currently. That number expected to drop in the near future as Wolfe continues to pace the field. Right now, he leads by about 3 seconds over Buckshot Ripka. TJ Rogers, him and his car about to be reeled in by those who are also on the same strategy as Wolfe on tires. Jason Spear and Bernard Persson staying lockstep this run as they try and work together and use team power to see if they can unite and defeat Team Rocket. I mean, try and finish in the top 5.
That was a good one. I don't know. I mean, looking at lap times, I mean, Rogers is not slow right now. I mean, he actually, for being on older tires than the rest of those guys, he's actually looking really good right now. But now, keep in mind, I do believe around 32 or 33, somewhere in that area, that's when he decided to pit. So he's going to be pitting very soon, I do believe, if I'm not mistaken. Unless, I mean, he's already kind of made his bed with the 5 pit stops here in this race. He's going to have to kind of stick with it. So I would assume he's going to stick with that pattern.
Yeah, and remember, a lot of the drivers we've seen have stayed committed to some of the strategies. We've seen that with Mark Schrader to start off the season. It didn't work well in terms of the lap total. We'll see if Rogers falls into that grouping today or if he just elected the undercut to start the race. Right now, he's still holding in the top 3. That's the interesting thing.
Yeah.
However, net time, he's losing a lot of it.
No, he is. He definitely is. He's not going to, I don't think if it stays like it is, he's not going to win this race. I mean, this is a bad situation. And I don't think he really chose to be in this strategy, really. I think he was kind of forced into it because of that loose condition he had at the beginning of the race. As we see some battle going on, Adam Recker, I believe, getting passed by Daniel Blow. And it looks like Blow is going to almost get that pass completed. Not quite. As Recker tries to fight back on the top.
You know who
TJ Rogers to pit road.
Wow. He is locked into 33 laps today. That's a choice.
It is a choice. And Todd Gilly, he's doing the same thing. He's on the same strategy.
So the band player drives on into the pit lane. As all this as well, Danny Passmore loses a lap. Of note today, we talk about trying to catch up from a missed race. One provisional used by Rogers this season. Eric Beller amongst those who also had a home race tonight, but had to use the provisional. His reasoning? He's in St. Louis. The reason he's in St. Louis? Did you know that people go to rock concerts for several days on hand? In his case, he's at the second day of a tour stop for Metallica in the Gateway City.
Yeah, that's what I had heard before the broadcast. I was like, well, that's really cool. I've always been a big fan of Metallica. That'd be really cool to go see those guys. And but I mean, I really don't. I guess I don't understand how that is more important than racing, though. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Well, here's the thing. I can't tell if you're joking or not, but
I'm being sarcastic. I'm joking.
But I was about to say, a lot of people take that seriously because, funnily enough, one of my university professors had a similar commitment involving, I think it was Pearl Jam in Austin. Had it planned for months in advance, where you have, obviously, when it comes to tours like that, people committed to going to a lot of those stops. They plan a full week out to be able to go to those concerts. One of those days alone, usually, depending on the person, maybe just trying to get a T-shirt. Because that's another thing, and that I'm way out of the grasp of talking about the T-shirt industry when it comes to the concert scene. But concerts, they bring in a lot of people, especially when it comes to commitments such as those bands, such as Metallica.
No, I don't shame him. Metallica's a great band. I'd love to go see him myself. And there's a lot of, nothing wrong with going to see a concert. It's going to hurt him, though, I'd say, in the point standings. I mean, Beller, has been one of the top drivers in this series, and being, of course, luckily they do have a provisional system that is going to allow him to kind of, I guess, put a Band-Aid on some of the points he would lose if he had, so that's good at least. I mean, it could be a lot worse, but I'll tell you who's been really impressive. Just Thomas Wolfe. This guy has been a machine here tonight, and I really like the difference we're seeing from Person. I think Person has learned quite a bit of a lesson here following his teammate Jason Spear. He's been really being a lot more conservative here.
I almost was thinking that might have been the potential case with Spear saying, okay, it's getting to an error pattern again. You did well on your pattern. Now fall behind me, figure out what I'm doing, try and match line to line. And that's not easier said than done, keep in mind, because here's the thing. He's not even matching the tire tracks of his teammate right now. If anything, he's going even harder into the corner than his own team boss.
Yeah. And what I find interesting as well is, and I hate to, I don't want to be, I'm not trying to like pick on Bernard, but I'll tell you, this guy's got a higher I rating. I mean, 3,000 something I rating. I mean, very high. I just think he might not be used to driving the Xfinity car, or it might just be the fixed setups that are bothering with him. It's going to take some learning, I think.
Remember, he's won a championship in this car before in different series.
Wow.
But it's more so, in my opinion, though, just again, sometimes it can potentially be towards the fixed variety, depending on the series. Keep in mind, the championship, where even when we've seen Jason Spear run in the trucks before earlier this year in the series, who won the Grand National Series title win, that was open. So there's just different ways you can adjust this. Here comes TJ Rogers looking to zip on by. The undercut, by the way, at this point for Rogers is looking to be very big. We're talking possibly up to 15, 20 laps by the time this is done.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's going to probably be a lot more comfortable during these runs. But we've seen it, though, in the past whenever he's tried to add a stop and for the tire's sake, it just doesn't add up. The math, on paper, it sounds like it should work, but it just doesn't. And but I mean, I know last time he tried some similar strategy, he ended up, I do believe, in the top 5, top 3, maybe even. So I mean, it doesn't always. It's not like catastrophic to have a pattern or a strategy like this. But it's not going to win him the race, I don't believe. I mean, Wolf, I think, is on the best strategy. But then again, I mean, the question mark still is there. The margin's razor thin. Can Wolf? Can Buckshot, Ripka, can they make it on gas to the end? As we see, I do believe that is, here's Ripka coming to pit road. This is early. This is actually early for Ripka.
Well, remember, he was offset by about 6 laps. If anything, this is later compared to what Rogers did. Now, it's Ripka that's the bigger question mark.
That's what I'm saying.
He just came in 3 laps earlier than estimated.
So that means he's not going to be able to make it on a 4-stop. He's going to have to add an extra stop, and that is not good. I mean, so this is I don't know why he just changed. Maybe he's looking at the black box. He's looking at the data, and he's maybe realizing that I can't make it, possibly. Now,
here's the counterpoint. Danny Passmore is 40 laps into a run, even though he's a lap down. Thomas Wolfe is still going on 37. Daniel Blow, it looks like he's not comfortable with the gas. He comes in with Zendel Collins and Bernard Person. If anything, Thomas Wolfe, he's the farthest by far on the lead lap outside of Jason Spear to be able to extend this fuel run, albeit Spear 10 seconds back where the 91 is. So Thomas Wolfe's in the catbird seat, and then there's and then some at this point.
Yeah, I mean, and of course he made it 41 on that first stint, and I do believe he's going to try to make it 41 on this one, maybe even 42. If he can stretch it to 42, that makes it a lot more possible that he's going to be able to finish this race on only 4 stops. But it looks like, that strategy is not going to work for Ripka. So this is curious to see how this is going to play out. I mean, I think that if you were going to use be on the 5-stop strategy, you would have had to start, kind of working in that way at the beginning of the race with the first stint. I mean, the same thing how Rogers did. Rogers pitted at lap 33. I think that Buckshot kind of made a mistake by going a little too far in his first stint if he was going to do this strategy.
And Thomas Wolff already making that projection, by the way. I was about to say, if you really wanted to take a hard fuel save strat, as Wolff nearly dressed up to the wall there, was about to say, why not just go and clutch and coast in the lift point that everyone's lifting for anyway while they drag the brake, instead of just letting it roll in the gas? That's a way to save a couple laps, and that's a common way to save it here as Dibble and Spear come in.
Yeah, so these guys are coming in early as well. This is definitely interesting. This is looking like no one is going to make it on a 4-stop here except for
Thomas.
Wolff. Except for Wolff, yeah.
Thomas Wolff, very comfortable, very efficient, very fast today.
Consistent, incredibly consistent.
Expect the pit stop here as there it goes. From the side of anyone by far. Just can't speed. Able to get it below the speed limit this time. So no speeding penalties this stint. No slides, no spins. TJ Rogers will cycle. Not sure where actually, because he just got the lap back now. It's going to be very curious where he matches up with the 91 on racetrack.
And the margin here for Wolff is still razor thin as well, because he didn't make it the 41 this time. He made it only 40. This is very interesting to see how this all plays out. But I think Rogers now is going to inherit the lead.
There it is, yes.
So, and if Wolff can't make it, if Wolff runs out of gas on the last lap, I think this is Rogers' race to win. So I might have been wrong. If Wolff...
Again, I was about to say, Wolff did make it 41 if you include the rules of pit.
Yeah.
He did make it one lap shy of the halfway mark, though, which I think is the more intriguing part that we might have to keep an eye on towards the checker flag. But Rogers is in front. Ripka, he's now 5 seconds behind where the 72 is. Gilly, he's already been passed by Ripka 7 seconds back. That's where Wolff has cycled. Bernard Persson has cycled 11 seconds back. He's actually jumped his team boss with this pit call by 3 seconds. Then it's Wrecker, who's back around where Jason Spear is in this tire tracks. Daniel below, the last one left on the lead lap. And it's back to the calm period, so to speak. Just a conversion of the strategies at this mark.
Yeah, you see Wolff, of course, is already back up into the top 3. He just got by Todd Gilly. Todd Gilly a lot slower than him, 33-second lap that last time by. But TJ Rogers, I think, slowly but surely getting caught by Buckshot Ripka. So I think Ripka might take the lead soon. Of course, he's going much faster than TJ Rogers, about 0.7 a second. Or 0.7 of a second, I should say, a lap. I'll tell you, this series, Justin, I mean, this series, every week, it seems like we got the calculators out, right? I mean, that's all this series is. It's just like, what strategy is going to work? I mean, no other series is like this.
Yes, indeed. Especially with how consistently this series has seen races go green to checkered this season. We're talking tracks like Homestead and Las Vegas. It was kind of that towards the direction. Seen that here in Kentucky tonight. Going to be a bit difficult at Iowa. Very difficult at North Wilkesboro. But there's a chance that at least half of the remaining races after this fall in that same category. The only race with a lot of cautions was last week because, well, it's Martinsville. What to expect?
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, that wasn't even that bad either. I mean, this series very, very clean. A lot of these guys have a lot of respect for one another. Known each other for quite a bit of time. But here comes Thomas Wolff. I was talking about Buckshot possibly leading some laps, but I was wrong again. Here comes Thomas Wolff. As also, we saw Bernard Persson just got by Todd Gilly. He's now up to 4th.
3/10 a lap quicker. It's not even close. Ripka just doesn't even have the grip to even try and defend that. That's how Thomas Wolff is able to arc it.
Yeah, just been an awesome drive for that 91. He's just been just so good. I mean, just so consistent. It's been robotic the way he drives that race car. I'm telling you, Barbie needs to start paying him with how he drives this car.
Well, if I picked up right, because I believe he's got a bit more of an asterisk to that, I think it's something entertainment-based, the Barbie. I'm not sure if he actually works for the Barbie you're thinking of, but sometimes, hey, sometimes you just drive a pink race car.
Yeah, ain't no shame in it, especially when you put performances on like this.
For reference, yes, Barbie does have an entertainment wing when it comes to its side of things. That's above my pay grade to describe Barbie dolls right now. But the lead's down under a second.
That's right. He's coming up quickly to TJ Rogers. Last time by, Wolff was about 0.8 faster. So I definitely think it's going to be very, very fast. Wolff's going to have this lead back. And he has led the majority of the event so far, as we're now coming up to lap 92, as we have well and truly crossed over the halfway point just a couple laps ago. So definitely been it's been going by very quickly as we've been doing our number crunching up here in the booth.
Oh,
a little bit of a pinch there from Rogers.
That's how quick the pass went. If you weren't really looking for it, you really didn't even blink. If you blinked, you missed it. That's how fast Wolff passed on the squeeze. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you saw Rogers got really tight underneath Wolff as well. That could have ended badly. But luckily it did not. As we take another look back at the replay here, as you see Wolff just coming up insanely quick. And you see Rogers committed fully to that lower line. Got a little bit tight on the exit. No contact.
Nicely done. And Rogers likely to be passed by Ripken in the next moment as well. So already under 75 laps to go in this one. Expecting a couple more stops to close out the race with how things have played out. Now, this is the closest battle of the racetrack for the time being. Those strategies expect to converge potentially in a couple more groups before we get to the next window. Already, mind you, TJ's technically about 7 laps away from his next pit stop if he's committed to this number at this point. After all, he made the bet in the first 2 stops. Does he maintain that the third one?
Yeah, this is definitely curious to see how this works. I mean, I think that these guys have already made their beds. They really have to just keep going with what strategies they have. Here comes Buckshot, though, closing in. Not that much quicker. I mean, he's about 3/10 faster. Not as say as egregious as how much faster Wolff was. But here comes Ripka to the inside, into 1 and 2, and he's going to make that pass stick fairly easily. And now moves up to the second place position.
Simple going that time. And move Ripka up to second for the time being. He hasn't gained any time yet, if any, on Thomas Wolff. In fact, now that he's on older tires, going to fall back. This was around where things plateaued before he elected to go on the undercut. So he has lost a lot of ground by making this call.
No, I was just getting ready to say that. I mean, I think that was the worst decision he could have possibly made. I mean, he on the first run went 41 laps. I just don't understand why he wouldn't do it again. He just something had to change. I mean, some type of stat or some type of figure had to change his mindset to make him think that strategy wasn't going to work. But I mean, I hope he knows what he's doing. I mean, the guy has. I mean, Buckshot Ripka has been one of the most consistent drivers this season and last season as well. I mean, he won the championship title, last season. We covered that race, and he's been just a phenomenal driver. I think he knows what he's doing, but then again, I from my perspective think he made a mistake there. But I'm sure we'll figure whenever it all is unraveled, we'll find out.
Now, keep in mind, haven't touched upon too much because most of the field has done this already. He is amongst those who have scraped the wall. Not that bad compared to some of the others, just tiny cracks. That's the thing. Since then, he's slipped back on this call. Most of the others who have picked up the damage, well, George Dibble, I think, is the example of the extreme. Most drivers who make contact, they have absolutely caved in that right front fender.
Yeah.
The reason thinking Ripka might be at least able to overcome some of that damage, at least on the pit stops, is he doesn't have it to where the fender's completely smashed apart. The fender's kept together at least, except for part of the wheel well, you see, where it's not fully oval-shaped because of a small crumple around the year, the word year. That's where the little crack is.
Yeah, you can see that little crack right there. Yep.
And even when you argue that, that doesn't lead to the question of why break the strategy.
Well, I mean, you could even see it right on the hood. It's definitely, yeah, there's definitely some damage there. I mean, it could very well be hurting his aerodynamics, which could also hurt his fuel economy, maybe.
I wouldn't think about the fuel economy breaking it up, but now keep in mind that as this has all gone on, this conversation, and the 4-second gap now has grown with us inside 67 to go this time, and pit stops already calling over the radio for Collins. Thomas Wolff has been blipping the clutch a bit at times. So the thought is there, although lightly. What I mean by
he knows.
the clutch is right about here. You'll hear a slightly higher pitch for a split second. Going a little bit more on the roll. Looks like he is comfortable on the number. Just trying to drive the race at the point, at the way things are going, because no one else is around, and Rogers and Gilly are also in.
And he knows he's got to save. That's the only way he's going to make it. I mean, he's gonna be short by a lap or two if he doesn't save. As you see, T.J. Rogers, of course, comes to pit road. Gilly, man, these guys are like clockwork. They go down at the same time every single time. You got to love their commitment.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Most times, if you pick a strat, you have to commit. If you try and change, like we seen from Ripka earlier, that's where things can go wrong. Of note, Adam Recker is in. He has also crushed the front nose. Here's the thing. That's more recent from the 11, and he's also crashed so hard into the outside wall on lap 100 in turn 2, he damaged the splitter. And that's going to be the aero damage that most are concerned about.
Yeah,
and he overruns the pit box.
Oh, goodness.
Well, there goes that good run for the 11. Let's take a look. It'd be lap 100 out of turn 2. He's in front of Daniel below, and then he's already missed the corner and missed the rubber. Hits the wall.
Yeah, that's definitely not good. You don't want to hit the wall. And, yeah, like you said, Adam Recker's been having a really good day. But unfortunately, going to have some more damage. So a lot of drivers have been hitting that wall quite a bit here tonight.
Of note, Zendel Collins, who's been laps down most of the entire race, has elected to park it for the night. The 49 is now out.
I got to be honest. I think Zendel just learned a very valuable lesson. Do not start from the pits in this series because there won't be a caution to save you. It doesn't usually happen.
Yeah, it's very hard to overcome. Also now in, Daniel Blow. He's making his scheduled stop. His Oregon Theme Machine also bringing Danny Passmore in. Passmore, this is a very early stop from him. 25 laps on the stint. He was able to stretch at 42 before. But he did lose the laps during the run.
Yeah, this is definitely curious. Of course, Danny had quite a bit of damage as well earlier, I do believe, in the race. But I think we're starting to possibly see Wolff, I think, saving fuel very much so. Because last time by was a little bit slower. Because I think he's starting to realize that it is going to be insanely tight. Not seeing it. I just think he's not really, like you were saying, clutching. He might do it every now and again, but I think he's just being really just not really getting too heavy on the gas, and probably trying to stay in the draft as well. You can see he's kind of trying to stay in the draft of below here. He's clutching a little bit.
Yeah, that was what I was talking about. Blipping the clutch. Just doing it where instead of lifting out of the gas fully, well, you still lift. You just hit the clutch on top of that. In the same mark, you would be off the gas. In 1 and 2 especially.
I think he has to. I mean, he has to do it. I mean, considering right now he's 25 laps into his stint. He can make it about, I think, another probably 17 laps possibly. And that leaves him, I do believe, with a few laps that he's going to have to extend the next run as well. So he's got to be saving.
Well, you just seen it already with the onboard. I was about to say, that's almost the pro way to do it, because a lot of drivers may be thinking, okay, how do I save gas without losing tons of time? Well, it kind of goes back to the way I kind of picked up on this a while back in my own experience, at least. Replace your lift point with the clutch point. It's about a couple 100s difference, yes, but it's essentially doing the exact same thing. You're just saving extra gas instead of just letting it roll through the high RPM. You just go out full clutch. You save that extra 10th per corner entry, and it adds up an extra lap or 2 per run.
And that's great. I mean, I love that he's doing that, and he has the skill to be able to pull something like that off. I mean, he's been, all race long mechanical, very methodical with everything he's been doing, very consistent. So it's no wonder he's able to pull something like that off. I mean, this guy very much, I think, could win this championship this season with how, when he's qualifying, I mean, even when he doesn't qualify, he still drives his way up through the field. I think Wolf has been so far the best this season, and I think that he's putting a lot of these other guys on notice. Like, I mean, I'm sure Ripka's like, I don't know how I can compete with that 91. I mean, even I talked about Ripka, how he was the champion in last season in the Cup cars. They ran the next gens in the last season, and Wolf was another one that he entering that championship race. Wolf was second in the points. So, I mean, we already know that this guy has got the ability to win championships. As here we go. I do believe a little bit of a battle there going on there. I think that was Ripka and TJ Rogers. Of course, Rogers, though, is a lap down.
Yeah, already 10 laps into the stint. A massive difference right now. But was about to say, we're lucky we're still green, because Mark Schrader has massive technical issues right now.
Oh, no.
If you've noticed, he's fallen a couple more laps down. That's because he has a meatball flag. What happened essentially was, not sure if we can show what happened to the 12 because of how bad the tech issue was. He was going down the front straightaway, lost connection to the sim, and then when he came back, he apparently had hit the wall and was in the grass, tearing perpendicular with the racing surface. Nearly came across another car, towed, left the session, came back, and is now losing connection to the racetrack again. So he's dropped out of the paddock for 2 straight attempts to at least see what's going on. So Mark Schrader has a massive tech issue that could have been a caution.
No, that was insanely close to being a problem there. I mean, considering he came down the racetrack whenever he appeared and became physical again. I don't know who that other driver was that was coming through there, but I bet they definitely, their heart probably skipped a beat a little bit, because that could have easily turned into a massive collision right there. Because, I mean, that car, I think, was unaware of what was going on with Schrader.
Yeah, now at this point, we're inside. 55 laps to go. More pit stops around the corner. Coming up to the final pit stop sequences in the near future. You're watching Grid Vision for coverage of RGR and the chance for the Kyle Glass Cup. It's Thomas Wolf leading from Kentucky Speedway here on iRacing.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Grid Vision, where pit strategy continues to come into play. Here in the RGR, chase for the Congo Gas Cup. Justin Prince, Brian Britt with you alongside Austin John Bishar producing. Right now, Thomas Wolfe looking to try and save gas. Here is the reason. There's a chance if he can find a way to stretch the gas another 5 more laps, he can do a 3-stop instead of a 4. That's how well the 91 has played the race today. And he's got 11 plus seconds over Jason Spear, who has 2 more laps of gas on him. Everybody else on the undercut strat is still a lap down, except for Rogers.
Man, you got me feeling like such a dummy. I've been saying 4 stops this whole time. Yeah, you're right. 3 stops. I actually added 1. But yeah, he's been trying to cut out a stop this entire race, and it seems like it's going to work. It's going to be really close, though. That's for sure. But I think he's got it. I really think he's got it. Jason Spear as well, looking like he's got a really good position, possibly going to be coming his way. I think he's on the same strategy. Am I wrong, Justin, or am I right?
He is on a similar strat, but the fuel is about a lap and a half, 2 laps more right now compared to Wolfe.
Yeah.
So right now, it'd be borderline if he can make it on 1 more stop, or rather this upcoming stop. Now, Wolfe, if he can go another 2 laps, seems to be in a bit more of a cushion spot. There's one of those laps. He's 41 laps into the stint. Last stint, made it around 42, 43 laps.
And here comes Spear. Spear is coming to pit road right now. He's been saving a lot. He actually made it to 43 laps. Which is the longest stint I do believe anybody has ever made it in this race.
That seems to be the case right now with how it's breaking down. Does Thomas Wolfe come on in this time? No, he's able to stretch it towards 43. And it looks like he's good. He's inside the mark. Coming to 42 to go if he comes in this time by. That may just be enough.
Yeah, I think he's just done a flawless job, and because of him being able to do this, I think he's gonna have a, I don't know. Rogers is probably gonna jump back up in front of him, but I don't know what the gap's gonna look like towards the end of this race. But here he comes to pit road now. Wolfe is pretty much the only one that really truly tried this strategy.
So in the pit lane goes the 91, TJ Rogers, cycle up towards the front. Keep in mind, he, along with the Toadman, and much of the rest of the field have to make another pit stop, likely, to finish this race. And at Kentucky, you're not making up a full pit stop.
No, not at all. Definitely not. I mean, if the fall off was over a certain level, and maybe over a 60 lap run or something like that, maybe, but not a 40 lap run. You're not going to make up that much time.
But that
or a 30.
It goes all the way back again to the point that I kind of tried to make earlier. In NIS competition, when it was 133 laps, the fuel run on average was about 63. Everyone would do everything possible to save an extra 4 laps because of that. The amount of time you can take in pit lane, 44 seconds plus the pit exit here at Kentucky, and a slow roll just to get to the cone, because the cone is a fair bit back on the lane compared to others where it's a straight shot before you start getting to the pit boxes. It is one of the slower pit lanes to battle with. Keep in mind, Wolf, 11 seconds back, and everyone else in front of him has to come down in pit. So expect him to cycle up front, regardless of what happens here.
Yeah, I mean, even if they didn't have to pit, just his lap times are going to be so much better than theirs. So, I mean, he's going to run them down and probably just catch and pass right by them, even if they didn't have to pit. So, because they do have to pit, though, I think by the end of this race, he's going to have a big lead. He's been so consistent. He's coming up on some lap traffic, though. Todd Gilly right out, or not lap traffic, actually. This is for position. Todd Gilly. This is third place. But there is a lap car in front of Gilly. I think that's the 12 of Schrader.
And almost leads back to the question what the winning largest margin of victory ends up being.
I think it's going to be big. I'm thinking 20 seconds. Oh, that was close.
By the way, Mark Schroeder is back. Hi, Mark.
He made his presence known to Thomas Wolf, that's for sure.
A little bit close there, but no contact. They continue. Really, only one bit of contact, and it was without any damage to the front nose of the 91. That was with the first pass to get around Travis Rogers. But for the most part, it's just been a race in amongst himself to keep it clean, keep it on the marks.
No, I love these races. Looks like Schrader back to pit road again. I've been loving these races. I mean, I was kind of talking about it under commercial break. I mean, these races, something about them, they scratch an itch. Just watching the different strategies unfold. No other league really is like this, that you can see all these guys kind of experiment and really play chess, on these 1.5-mile tracks like this.
Or running inside the green light on fuel for anyone else who wants to try and pit or wants to come in. Keep in mind, some various strategies expect to converge, including this one. Jason Spear, fresh tires, has already made his way around Daniel Blow. George Dibble, who is a lap down, also on fresher tires. Now, it's been a rough one from Dibble ever since the contact in the opening 5 laps to the outside wall. Look on the bright side. It isn't his real-world car, where he apparently hit a deer to celebrate Halloween.
That's not good.
And, on the bright side, some of the various members on Halloween morning mentioned, you just got a 4X, you don't have damage to the splitter. Keep positive. The arrow's still good on it.
Don't you wish you had a fast repair in real life after you hit a deer?
I think the equivalent of that is a free voucher from insurance.
That's right.
That's if you have enough on the deductible to get the voucher to cover all the damage. You gotta love $1,000 deductibles. As a bit of a slide.
I've been watching this battle. Person has been catching up to Gilly. Person just hit the wall. You can see that he's got some right front damage now as a result. He is trying to get by Gilly. And it looks like he's going to make that pass.
Almost everybody except for Wolf Maybe one of our driver has that damage, mind you, today. But Person able to get on by fully because he does have fresher tires compared to Gilly. I will say that kind of goes back to the talking point. He likes to push it hard on exit.
Well, here comes Wolf.
Pit windows open. This is for the lead. Wolf. Well, that was easy. Zips on by. Rogers also in for his final scheduled stop. He'd need to make up the full lap plus to have a shot here. Gilly is also in.
Yeah, let's see. When does Buckshot come down? Looks like he's coming down now. Yeah, I bet all those guys are probably kicking themselves. Like, man, why didn't we try to do what he's doing? Like, I just...
So, Danny Passmore also joining them. Also in, Bernard Person. Mostly everybody on these strategies electing to come down outside of Spear, as well as maybe Daniel Blow and Adam Recker for the time being at least. And mind you, Wolf and Spear may be really essentially the only drivers who can get close to cutting out the one stop. For Spear, it's borderline. For Wolf, it's comfortable.
Yeah, I think Spear might make it. I mean, he'll probably be coasting there because he is even in more of a razor thin margin. And I think Spear, you could see lap time wise, Spear is really slowing down quite a bit in order to, I do believe. Oh, he's clutching. He is definitely clutching. Full clutch there, quite a bit. And that's actually being reflected in his lap time as well. So 32.5. So he's definitely, you see right here on entry, he does it every single corner. But this is hurting him a lot more as well, though, on lap times, like I was saying. This is why I think that 16, 17-second gap between him and Wolf is. Wolf is a lot more efficient about his saving.
Yeah, Spear is going more so towards what we touched upon. The full-on clutch, where you end up going all the way to the apex, that can cost you a couple tenths per lap. You're talking hardcore saving if you're going that hard on the clutch and coast. By the way, the smoke is for Adam Recker on his pit entry. No issues in that regard. Still little blips. Still keeping the pattern up to make sure he's good.
Yeah, he knows exactly just how much he needs to save. I doubt he's going to have enough to do any burnouts here.
The part that surprises me, why not do it in the entry of 3 as well? Because that's where, if anything, you have a harder lift point than you do in 1 and 2.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you lose more time through there because, trying to. Well, you might gain. You actually might burn more gas though, because if you slow down too much, you're gonna have to. I don't know. Don't listen to me.
I mean, hindsight is 20/20 for 1. 2. Here's a good example. Did you know that if you go slower on a highway, it costs you more time, but not as much fuel? For example, 100 kilometers an hour, the speed limit of most Ontario highways. You can get to, say, 200 kilometers in there and back from some location on and back within half a tank, depending on your car. If you go, say, 140, not only do you risk the speeding penalty, but did you know you also burn a quarter of a tank more in gas going that much quicker over the course of an hour and a half?
Well, I mean, I think the point I might have been working out in my mind, I shouldn't have been speaking apparently, but Thomas Wolf might cost a lot more time penalty by doing it in 3 and 4, possibly.
But also, here's the thing that is the underlying factor there. I mentioned the potential of the speed penalty. If you go too fast, guess what? You burn too much gas in this case. And guess what? Your speeding ticket's in the pit box. As in, you get to serve it by going too fast, by going and having to take a pit stop.
That's right, yeah.
Does the metaphor make sense now?
Yeah, no, for sure. If you go too fast, you burn too much gas and have to make a pit stop. It's almost like a unofficial penalty.
By the way, TJ Rogers, right now he is 39.5 seconds behind the leader. Not likely to catch up unless Wolf or Spear come in. Now, there's a slight chance he gets to Spear still, because right now he's running 31.7. Spear is running 32.8. Right now it's about a 16-second deficit. It's close, but it depends on how much Rogers falls off here by the back end of the run.
Yeah, and also Spear has been really drastically saving as well during this run. So, I mean, yeah, you're right. I think TJ Rogers eventually is going to plateau with his lap times. So it's definitely curious to see how this will play out. I think that Rogers will probably, I mean, we still got 23 laps to go, coming up to 22. I think he's got enough time to probably catch up to Spear. But he definitely has no chance to catch up to Wolf. So I think that Rogers will probably, unfortunately, probably still be a lap down. Wolf might be the only driver on the lead lap.
Honestly, I would be shocked. Well, you say that? Guess who just got his lap back? Rogers makes it on the high
I just
side.
eat my words.
Yeah, that was very quick. Adam Recker, he's also zipping on the outside. That gets him to 1 lap down in the race. But there's still 22 laps to work with. There is one battle on the racetrack. Bernard Person, and how about the boss man? Gilly has a chance for a top 5 run. They're on the same strategy now. Their strategies have converged to again for the first time all race. Keep in mind, Gilly came in the same laps as Rogers. Eventually, as this race cycled, Person fell in line with the 19th strategy.
That he did, but I just don't think Todd is as quick as Person. We'll see. I mean, because Person has been a little bit worse on the longer runs. I'm kind of surprised because Person was, I think, following behind Spear for quite a bit of time. I'm wondering where they diverged on their strategy. It's definitely curious because, I mean, I thought that Person was kind of sticking with his teammate, but unfortunately it looks like that's not the case. But still, I think a much better showing, I got to say, from Person here tonight, considering, I mean, he seems like he's shown a lot of growth when it comes to long run. Curious to see what the future is going to hold, if he can continue to kind of adapt himself to the fixed setup. And one thing about it, I think that with racing on a fixed setup, and especially probably in the Xfinity car, this is going to teach him to be a better driver, I'd say, in the open as well. Because if you can adapt to this setup, it applies, I'd say. It can translate to open setup racing. I've seen some of the best fixed setup racing guys jump into an open setup, and they will just lights out beat anybody that's used to driving on an open.
I mean, to put it this way, how do I phrase this? If you can win in a car that many people would describe as extremely tight. For reference, the fixed setup on iRacing, the cross weight's at 55%. That's actually very high for the monitor, for this technology era, to say the very least. A lot of basically jumping into the open car is basically going from riding a motorcycle to riding a little tricycle, at least the way it feels to me. Because if the fixed setup usually tends to be towards those who can be careful on the right front tire. If you eat the right front tire, you're going to have a bad time in this car.
Yeah. I definitely can see that being the case, and that's why I feel like a lot of people, when they jump over to the open setups after being used to the fix, they feel somewhat spoiled, especially because they can even change the handling of the car to suit them better, as we see Buckshot Ripka trying to unlap himself here.
I mean, let me put it this way. Used to be the trend when it came to open racing, right, to go near, if not full, max camber. That switched 2 years ago. Did you know the Kentucky fixed setup has near max camber in the right front tire?
Well, that's definitely curious. Well, I mean, and this track's not that much in rotation anymore as well, so they probably haven't updated it in quite some time. So,
Well,
and this is not a track that a lot of people practice at very much as well. So this is a curveball for a lot of these drivers.
by the way, Ripka back in the lead lap. And here's the interesting thing for those keeping a note on stats and such as that. 14 laps to go this time by. Depending on how this all goes, if Spear can make it, very likely going to be able to get second. If he runs out of gas, there is a chance Wolf can get the largest margin of victory of the season. Remember, Eric Beller won by 23.6 seconds over Ripka at Darlington. That was after he led 39 laps and closed out that race with the victory. That total, right now on a similar trajectory to today, would put Thomas Wolf at around 49, 48 points earned with the race win and with the most laps led. And with Ripka at least getting a point for the pole, that gap is still shrinking, but Ripka needs to make a pass and get to Rogers and fast. Or else, there is a strong chance Wolf, if he keeps up the pace he's going with wins, can actually jump him by the finale if he keeps knocking off win after the slow start.
Yeah, he's definitely been killing it, and I think he's going to the forefront of everybody's minds that, of probably a championship favorite. I mean, in a lot of ways, as we come to 12 laps to go here, Thomas Wolf putting on a show out here at Kentucky. Man, what a show he's putting on here. I mean, just dominant performance. Took the lead on the first lap, and in a lot of ways hasn't looked back since.
And the more I keep looking at the numbers, though, mind you, the way it's projecting with how if it finishes the way it is here, the gap is still 21 points. You're looking at needing to average outbeating Ripka by about 7 points per race to close out the season. That's why, again, the emphasis is you have to qualify. If anything, Thomas Wolf needs to get the pole. That's step one to get a point. That makes it a little easier for the race. But even more so, the best situation for Wolf would be to just win. I hate to say it like that, but the point difference is enough to where if you get most laps led plus a win, there is a chance he can come back from being 40-plus points down a few races ago with how slow the first half of the season went before this stretch where he's now gotten 2 wins.
What I find really interesting, though, is look at the lap times. Wolf is only about a 10th off of what TJ and Buckshot Ripka are running right now. I mean, they are on 10-lap newer tires than him, and he is still just almost matching their lap times. I mean, Buckshot's not driving away really from Wolf. I mean, I just think this shows how methodical this guy is, and I think that I'm telling you, this whole broadcast, this whole stream right here is pretty much a love letter to Thomas Wolf from the broadcast booth to how great this guy has been driving this race car.
Yep, 49 points scored the past 2 weeks. After starting off the season, struggling to get to the 40-point mark consistently in a race, essentially a top 5 run to be able to score points. With under 10 laps to go, now 8 this time by. See the lap pace right now quicker than Spear still by about 3/4 tenths per lap.
He's faster than them now.
Well, are you not surprised?
Are you not entertained? Thomas Wolf is just killing it.
It's only a 10-lap difference than everybody else who's on the extra pit stop. You're not going to gain much time on only a 10-lap difference when it plateaus at about a lap and about a second and a half of fall off.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, earlier in this race, he was hitting 33 flats fairly consistently, but now he's been jumping between 32 sevens, 32 eights, 32 nines. So I mean, he's been faster in this run, and I think he's been in most of his runs here. But I think that might be a sign that he knows he's good on fuel.
Right now looking along as the sun looks to go behind the grandstand. And mind you, the next few races, more trend to the short track. We've seen how good Wolf was at Martinsville, Iowa, North Wilkesboro, Phoenix, with Kansas mixed in. This might trend towards who's the best at running in a tight, confined circuit like last week. And he's been able to get around the tight confines when he's been boxed in today. Wolf coming to 5 laps to go. Clutch and coast again. Hard clutch and coast for the 91.
Yeah, he's probably got that telemetry up right now, and he's just looking at the numbers and just making sure he's absolutely perfect. Big clutch that time. He is, because he was running some fast laps, but I think he might have realized that, hey, yeah, I might need to back it off a little bit, because when you start to go a little bit faster, that estimated fuel kind of goes down a little bit, and I think that might have been what was going on when he started going faster. But, of course, he is in good shape, coming up to 4 laps to go. He's got almost 20 seconds right now on Jason Spear. Now, Jason Spear, another driver we definitely deserves a clap on the back there, considering this is, I do believe, his second top 3 if he finishes where he's at.
Another runner-up run with how things could play out here. He is now quicker than Wolf. TJ Rogers, at the very least, get a podium run. He started off the race with 24 laps led, has been up towards the front. Outside of the pit cycles, though, since his charge early. Now, meanwhile, down to the final 3 laps. Wolf trying to make sure he doesn't run out for the final lap.
Yeah, I got to give a lot of credit to Rogers. You know, he's on this different strategy, of course, or I shouldn't say, it's actually pretty common strategy, it seems to be tonight. But, you know, he started this race somewhat, I'd say, handicapped in a lot of ways, just considering he spun out on cold tires on almost the first couple laps. And, you know, of course, I say spun out is probably over-exaggerating it a little bit, but he did get really loose, dropped a few spots, and had to recover. And he has recovered. I'd say 3rd place. I mean, that's good. Another consistent finish for Rogers.
He wins championships, but Thomas Wolf has had consistency as of late. Now, coming on turn 4, taking the white flag this time by one final time around Kentucky. Thomas Wolf has a 21.3 second advantage. All he needs to do is get to the checkered. He can coast from here. That's how big the gap is.
He might be doing just that.
Looks like no clutch this time. He knows he's good. Checker flag waves. For the 3rd straight week, Thomas Wolf shows the pace. He takes the win from Kentucky. Jason Spear also on the strategy, looking to close out a 2nd place run. Back-to-back 2nd places. And it looks like he's good. He holds on to 2nd by about 6 seconds. His best run in 1.5 miles this season. Others like Bernard Person already slow on the backstretch. They've already taken the checkered. Rogers already amongst the top 3 in this one.
Wow, what a job. Thomas Wolf. Does he have enough to do a little bit of a burnout? Looks like he does.
Thomas Wolf gets the job done tonight. 142 laps led. He puts on a clinic again. He did it at Homestead on his long run pace. He does it on full out pace tonight, as he tries to sort out the burnout. Let's take a look at the unofficial race results here tonight. He picks up the win by nearly 22 seconds, the 2nd largest margin of victory on the season. Jason Spear in 2nd. Then it's TJ Rogers, Lance Repka, the only drivers in the lead lap. Bernard Person finishes a lap down in 5th. Then it's Gilly, Lowe, Recker, Dibble, Passmore in the top 10. Schrader and Collins do not finish from Kentucky. With that being said, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, post-race coverage underway. You're watching RGR and the chase for the Kiowa Class Cup from Kentucky. Welcome back to tonight's coverage of the Real Good Racing League and its Cup Series in the chase for the Kiowa Class Cup. Just Pritz alongside Brian Brett as we get post-race coverage underway here from Kentucky. Tonight, Thomas Wolf takes the win, but it is TJ Rogers who picks up the third spot tonight. Still waiting on word from him as drivers get themselves situated for post-race coverage. As we wait to see the pattern, we'll have to go shuffled a little bit today. Jason Spear start things off second place. He's with Brian.
Jason, fantastic performance, man. I think that's your second place this season, and you did it on strategy as well. I mean, how did you know that strategy was going to work? Did you think about that beforehand? Was that something that you knew in advance?
Yeah, I knew the fuel was going to come right down to the end, and there was a couple pit stops I could have stayed out just a little bit longer, but the way I was figuring it, I was going to be about right. And I don't know where some of that I thought was right went, but I about needed it back.
Yeah, it seemed like it for sure. We saw, we looked on through your cockpit quite a bit tonight, and we saw how you were having to do some major saving, very much some clutching going on in that race car. But still, I mean, you were able to get second place. Of course, you weren't as efficient, I'd say, as Thomas Wolf, but still a fantastic performance. I mean, how does this, affect your confidence level? It's got to be very good considering, I mean, you've been getting some really consistent finishes here as of late.
It helps it out a lot, honestly. To finish second twice, 2 weeks in a row, I mean, that's awesome. These, when you don't have any cautions, man, which I'm thankful for, but when you don't have any cautions, you got to really figure these races right. You know, how hard can I run and how much fuel I need to save. And I know there was a couple times, that first pit stop, Thomas stayed out maybe a lap or two after me, so that might have been the difference, that I was having to save like that. And each run I should have stayed out just a little longer. That one time I don't know if it was the second or third time I pit, I was running out going down pit road.
Oh wow, so it definitely was very much on edge there. But still, great job for the second place there, Jason. Iowa's coming up next week. Going to be a much different, I'd say, strategy. Probably not going to be as much fuel conservation. How do you feel about that racetrack?
I like Iowa. It's, you got to be on your marks and somewhat take care of your stuff. I've always liked that track. Over the years I've run it a bunch, and I'm looking forward to it, honestly.
Well, we definitely are looking forward to it as well, Jason. Who can we shout out after your second place finish? Second in a row, I should say.
Well, I appreciate you guys putting the show on. I went back and watched a couple races over the last 2 days. Y'all do a heck of a job in the booth, and really like pros up there. Thank Todd and all the guys put this show on, give us a good place to run, caution free. And my teammate Bernie, we were figuring some of the math we were coming up with, I couldn't do it without him. And so, yeah, I'm just glad to come home P2. And thank you guys.
All righty. Well, definitely thank you as well. And hopefully you can come home one step higher next time. We'll see how that goes, Jason. But have a great night, brother.
You too. Thank you.
Once again, that second place, Jason Spear. First place tonight, going the way of Thomas Wolf. Let's take time to speak with him. Thomas, once again, a winner. 3 straight wins, in fact. How would you describe tonight as you made it comfortably on the 3-stop, or at least semi-comfortably, I guess you could say?
Yeah, I mean, that was a tricky track. I think the biggest key was getting that good start right initially at the green flag. Just because I know dirty air here is like a real can be like a lot of trouble. It can wear on your tires. So I got the lead and then was trying to keep the dirty air on the second place guy behind me, and then was able to pull away. But yeah, no, this was a tricky track because I did a 3-stop, so there was a point where I really wanted to not go for fast laps, but just efficient laps. So, yep.
And when thinking about how things have broken down this season, again, started off on the slow end in terms of some of the luck, in terms of the points scored. Again, now with things turning the corner towards this midpoint, what's that mindset like, knowing essentially if you want the championship, you have to be perfect? No offense.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I was able to get a lot of practice in here this week just because I normally watch YouTube tutorials on the tracks before I hop in the server, but this one I did early. And I saw this track can wear on the tires really bad, so I figured I should get some laps here before. So I think that helped a lot. But moving forward, I hope I can just get the same amount of practice each track, and then I think I've figured out the car as the season's gone along. So that might have been some of the reasons for the slow start. But yeah, just again, just minimizing mistakes on pit road and keeping the car clean. I think I'll have a good shot.
With that being said, 3 of the next 4 races to close out the season short tracks. We go to Iowa next, 200 laps. How do you feel about corn and for Iowa?
Oh, big corn guy. I love corn. As for the track itself, I can't really remember the last time I ran there, so might have to put some test laps down to get acclimated, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm excited.
Well, glad you like corn. All I can say is, I hope you've seen Danny Passmore's car, because that may be part of the solution. Yeah, anyone want to give a shout out here tonight?
Just thank the guys. Thank Todd and TJ for running the league, and Kailu Glass for sponsoring the races and paying for you guys. You guys, again, do a great job every race, so thank you guys.
Thomas Wolf gets the victory tonight. The Richmond, Virginia hometown driver gets it done. Congrats, Thomas.
Yep, thanks, guys. Go Barbie.
Barbie, go. Go, Barbie, indeed. Thomas Wolf gets the job done for a 3rd consecutive week. He does it over Jason Spear and TJ Rogers. Like to thank Wolf and Spear for taking the time to speak with us during post-race coverage here on Grid Vision. Intern Brian, 4 on the lead lap by the checker flag here tonight. An interesting day, but that brings into an interesting week. Your thoughts of the racing week on hand, because we're going super speedway racing tomorrow with some of these drivers.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to it. That's for sure. The race tonight, very, very entertaining. I mean, we were spoiled, I'd say, when it comes to just the statistics. I can't talk. And the strategies and things like that we have that unfold here in this series. Of course, looking forward to some super speedway action tomorrow. Always some exciting racing. We see 4 wide, 5 wide finishes. So I'm excited.
And of course, Kentucky on Tuesday with Champion. Be sure to stick around when it comes to a busy week, as well as SRO Truck Series, the Major Series finale, and of course, it is RGR in that slot on the Sunday with the closing of the GRL's season this afternoon. On that note, tonight, is set to come to a close in of itself. We'd like to thank you for tuning in for tonight's coverage of the Real Good Racing League and its chase for the Kyle Gus Cup from iRacing's virtual Kentucky Speedway. From a co-announcer Brian Britt, for producer Austin Darbyshire, I'm Justin Brent saying so long and enjoy the rest of your evening. You've been watching RGR from the Bluegrass State. Congratulations to Thomas Wolf, your winner from Kentucky.